The book I am about to bring to life is a mysterious science fiction thriller based on the book The Birthday Song by Jazmine Twitty. This is Season 1, Episode 1. As usual, Jimmy Weisenheimer Sr. is about to get off from a long day of work. Jimmy takes pride in his job as a professor down at the university. He is a state-of-the-arts instructor who teaches over 400 students per day on how to convert exclusive ideas into reality. The professor makes a lot of money, but unlike other high-paid professors, he doesn't drive a BMW, Audi, or even a Lexus. He walks by choice. The university has let out. There are college students everywhere. Some have cars to drive themselves home, others catch the shuttle to their dorms. There are staff members saying goodbye to some of their favorite students, and then there's Professor Weisenheimer walking alone. "Okay, Mr. Weisenheimer, see you tomorrow," said one of the students from class. "Sure thing, Mr. Smith, and I'll be expecting your report on today's lecture first thing in the morning," replied Mr. Weisenheimer. "Mr. Weisenheimer, when I get going in life, I'll buy you a Honda or something," DJ yelled out to him as the mufflers and engine on his 2000 Honda Civic revved loudly. "No, you ought to not worry about Mr. Weisenheimer. I live to see the day you excel, DJ. You're like a son to me. Now run along. It's getting late, and if I'm not home at 8 p.m, my wife will have APD, SWAT, and animal control looking for me," said Professor. "Good one," DJ replied. Jimmy sets off into the distance, whereas all you could see is the back of his cloak, a faded image of his briefcase and the clicking from his shoes tapping the pavement. Looking up into the sky, there's often a faint flash of lightning. If rain is expected, he'd better stop and get an umbrella because his briefcase is only taped together where the latches had broken off just a few weeks ago. It's about 7:53 p.m, and Jimmy knows that he won't make it home in time unless he hitchhikes the rest of the way. He is a very cautious man. Paranoid is what his wife calls him. Mrs. Weisenheimer tells him that he should seek help for it, but Jimmy confesses to excellent mental health. Catching a bus, hitchhiking, or carpooling is not in his favour. He enjoys the walk, even in the dark. 7:58 approaches just as the sound of thunder begins to rumble. He hears the sound of cigarette lighters flicking, doors shutting, and what seemed to be a gathering of young men partying. He walked to an open field of headlights. Shadows and silhouettes of the group and the headlights of the cars were all on high beam, so he couldn't really see anyone, but they could see him clearly. "Hey, Professor!" one shouts. Another student yells, "Yeah, let me get some of that university money you've got." Jimmy does not answer. He throws his hand up to acknowledge the boys and continues walking. The air begins to become a little more clearer as he walks a couple of more feet toward home. That's when the first drop of rain lands on his forehead and another on his eyelash. Jimmy's cloak went from dark blue to black in a matter of minutes as the rain began to pour. Looking straight ahead, he sees an open sign on a window and a car's reverse lights as it backs out of the parking lot. Now 8:10 p.m, Jimmy is aware of any law enforcement who may be looking for him or animal control. "Professor, what can I get for you?" said the clerk. "Just looking for an umbrella. Any colour?" Jimmy replied. "Just something to keep you dry, huh?" the clerk said while looking at how drenched Jimmy was. "Yup. Here, take mine. And how's that junior of yours doing? He must be 16 now, aye?" "No, he'll be 6 soon. Hey, how much do I owe you?" "Don't mention it, Professor. Have a great night." Continuing on now with an umbrella, Jimmy is no longer getting rained on, but he is starting to get cold. He's going to hear it from his wife when he gets home, as she always checks the weather the night before and always lets him know if rain is expected. Mrs. Weisenheimer actually left her husband's umbrella by the front door last night, right underneath a sign labelled "Take This." Mr. Weisenheimer tucks his hands in his pockets for some warmth and notices his keys are not there. "Ugh," he mumbled under his breath. "They'd better be home." When he finally makes it home, he is about 5 pounds heavier due to a soaked shirt and muddy dress shoes. Maybe he ought to take advantage of DJ's offer. A Honda doesn't sound too bad after all. Jimmy, standing outside his front door, knocks on the door gently to avoid waking his son, but loud enough to get his wife's attention. There's no answer. He knocks again, but this time with a little more force. "Bark, bark!" yelled out a once sleeping dog. "Can't please everybody," mumbled Jimmy. "Bark!" the neighbour's dog yelled out again, but this time it was as if the dog was giving him a final warning. "Okay, okay!" Jimmy hollered at the dog, looking over his shoulder, realizing that his wife's car wasn't in the driveway. Now he has to walk over to the neighbor's home to call the community security team to get assistance with getting inside his house. The neighborhood security team meets Jimmy at his front doorstep, shining flashlights as bright as the sun. "Thank God for the bundle that comes along with homeowners insurance," Jimmy said, as they began to let him inside. The security officer turns the key and looks over at his partner. His partner places his hand over his cuffs that are in the holster attached to his belt. They welcome Jimmy into his own home, but they step inside and close the door behind them. Jimmy looked over and smiled at him. It had gotten extremely quiet in a matter of seconds. "Thanks, guys. I think I'm inside now," Jimmy said very uncomfortably. "Where's the device, Jimmy?" the officer said. The other officer blurted out, "Yeah, we want the device, Jimmy, so give it up. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, Jimbo." Stay tuned for Season 1, Episode 2.